Okay, thank you everybody for being here. This is the state of real estate that Jason Scolf gave me this small topic to go over with you guys today in 30 minutes. And I know that lunch is at 12. It is 11:45. So usually my intro is about a half hour. So we're going to have to go really quick, which we will. And I hope you guys get some piece of value out of this today, okay? Now, I had anticipated this, and so if you follow this link, and it's a bit.ly link, so it's bit.ly/Todd, that's me, that's going to take you to a Google form which asks for your name and email address. And if you pop in your name and email address, I will send you this entire presentation, I'll send you all the slides, but more importantly, I will send you a resource guide, which basically has all of the links, the sources, the podcasts, the books, basically everything that this presentation is all about that I think is pretty good, that I've gathered over my 15-year career. I'm just going to give it all to you guys to hopefully help you on your journey with where you're going in your real estate career, okay? So goals for today. Guys, the first thing, and this is my take on real estate conferences. I'm a real estate conference junkie, recovering junkie, I should say. And the first thing I'd say is to be curious. All right, any session that you sit in, no matter who the speaker is, no matter what the credentials are, be curious about the content that is being given to you, right? Uh-oh. See, this is Jason's computer here. Get that McAfee out of here. All right, so be curious. Ask questions. Why are people saying what they're saying? Do your research, okay? And number two is take action. One of the things I think real estate agents in today's age, we've become planners, and we're planning for the plan, and we're planning, and I need a social media plan, I need a content plan. And the one thing we're not so great at right now is taking action. And so what I encourage you to do, no matter what you come out of today's conference, this week's conference, take action on something, okay? Just go for it, all right? So a little bit about me. I was licensed in 2006 at 24 years old. I'm from Lexington, Kentucky, so at that point, it's 2021, I'm 39. I've been in this for 15 years. For 10 years, I was at Milestone Realty Consultants. They represent Ball Homes, had a lot of new construction experience, love new construction. Transitioned to Keller Williams for 2 years, learned a ton about the real estate industry in those 2 years. And then in 2018, I co-founded an independent company in Lexington called The Brokerage. And I'm loving life since 2018. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And I love the industry, all right? I love the real estate industry. Hopefully that comes across from today's presentation that I love this stuff, okay? All right. And speaking of love, that's my family. And so I get emotional all the fucking time. Paula knows this. Like, I just get emotional. But that's my family. That's my wife, Lauren. Those are our kids. Madison's 5, just started kindergarten. Sam is 2. And that little guy in my arms is Jack. He is 3 months old. And that is why sometimes I need a lot of coffee. Question.
Is that just like they're all going to name the brokerage baby?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. All Jacks, baby. So a lot of what I'm going to talk about today, that's like they're my world. So a lot of the things I talk about revolve around kind of work and life balance, how I do it, but that's my world right there in a picture, okay? All right, so first thing, and that picture is a great illustration, the only constant in life is change, okay? You guys have heard this 1,000 times, right? But it's so true, right? And I think as every person in here, we can draw on your experience, but you could probably say, yeah. Right? The only thing that we know is going to happen is change, right? And the way I think about that is evolving. And I think that is what the real estate industry is in constant evolution, okay? It's constantly changing. Some years are big, some years are not so big, but no matter what, it's constantly changing. So as we get going on today's presentation, I want that to be the backdrop. Is that you understand that things are constantly changing and constantly evolving. And so what can we do as real estate practitioners in 2021? What can we do, okay? So speaking of evolution, all right, I don't know if you guys knew this or not, but last week the new iPhone came out, iPhone 13. You want to talk about evolution? All right, look at all of these things about this iPhone. I mean, it's your new superpower. I mean, my goodness, lightning fast chips and huge leaps. I mean, all this stuff, right? So people line up to get this phone, and shameless plug, I got it. So this is big, right? It's big. You have to have this phone, right? But then the same phone, right? My buddy Ben Allen sent this to me when I told him I was getting a new phone, and so let's break this down. It's a gentleman with a very nice plaid shirt, and that represents the iPhone 12. And he has a smile on his face. He's so happy. He's gazing at this box, and it's the same shirt, right? The present is the same shirt. So he is so pumped that he actually got the same shirt. And that's Ben, my buddy Ben. That's how he sees the iPhone. He's like, it's the same thing, Todd. It's the same thing. And here's the deal, right? So what do? I think people in general, especially in the real estate industry, right? You've got the notorious ROBs of the world that think the real estate industry is crumbling down. And then you have other people that think nothing is happening. And here's why. Like my man Vanilla Ice says, right? We take things to the extreme. To the extreme. That's where the attention lies. Like no one likes being in the middle, although that's what it is, right? It's never as good, it's never as bad, it's somewhere right in the middle, okay? So keep that in mind when you see news stories, when you see the next Inman article about something, just keep that in mind, the to the extreme concept, okay? Now, in saying that, right, let's take a look at that iPhone 1 versus the next year, the iPhone 3G, right? So that kind of looks like the same thing, right? So if you were in that world, like as a real estate agent, and you may say like, yeah, not much has changed, right? And then the iPhone 3 to the iPhone 4, yeah, not much has changed. But if I look at the iPhone 1 to the iPhone 6 Plus, I mean, good night. Like what has happened? What has happened to the iPhone, right? And I think the same thing about the real estate industry is that year to year, right, because we're in it, we're living in it, these changes may seem kind of small. But when we look back in 5 years, in 10 years, right, like the changes are pretty massive. And it's that concept for us to understand that, right? Like I can remember in 2016, my last year at Milestone, dot loop just got introduced. And it was just like, people were like, no one's ever going to use dot loop. Like, this is ridiculous. Lenders don't take it. That's when Jason, I think, was still at Venture, whatever the title group was, maybe Venture Title at that group. And it was Bluegrass at that time. And then it was just like, no, like you have to wet sign it. And we're like, well, why are we writing these dot loop contracts? Like, we have to wet sign it. Like, dot loop will never last. Okay, let's fast forward 5 years. If you don't use dot loop, you're like, what are y'all doing? You know, like you don't use dot loop, like, and you get a handwritten contract. You're like, why did you write this in hand? Like, what did you do this for? Like, I can barely read this. So keep this in mind, okay? So what just happened here? Do you guys realize what we just lived through in the last 2 years? Like what we're currently living in? Right? Like I just passed a big COVID testing site rolling in here today, as I'm sure you guys did too. And, you know, it's pretty amazing that we're here right now. And it's pretty amazing that this graph isn't just damn ridiculous. And that should give us all faith and all hope in what is coming in the real estate industry. Let me explain. So, you know, sometimes they say the more things change, the more things stay the same. This right here is from our good friends at NAR. And this right here, does anyone know what an SA annual rate is? I had to look it up. I have no idea. I'm just being honest with you. Sometimes you see it as SAAR. So that's seasonally adjusted annual rate. I wish they would have just wrote that out right there. Jason, talk to those people. So I did that right there. So this right here tells you, right? Like in 2017, 5.5 million, and EHS is existing home sales. 5.5 million is what's sold. That's a pretty constant, like pretty damn consistent line in 3 years that about 5.5 million homes sell every year. That should make us all feel really good doing what we do. And then, of course, we all know what happened right here. What happened there? We all know. And so that's when the pandemic hit in full force, and we dropped down to 4 million, okay? And then what happened? Look at that, I mean, just shot back up, okay? And then now we're kind of settling in at that 5.8, 5.9 number. But to me, if you look at this 4-year period, guys, like that's pretty awesome, that it's pretty much right in this line, okay? And as we get talking about these things, everyone wants a slice of the 6 million homes sold pie. I didn't know a way to shrink that down anymore, but there's 6 million homes, all right? It's a huge pie. I would be very happy with a very small fraction of that pie, okay? And so it's a massive pie. So we have to think about this stuff on a pretty big level. And then what a treat this was, right? So not only, all right, you guys do math with you. We're realtors. We know how to do math, right? So what happens when you sell the same amount of homes, okay? We'll use 5.5. You still sell 5.5 million homes. And in 2017, the median price was $250, okay? Everybody's with me there? Well, now you still sell 5.5 million homes, except now the median price is $356. What happened? I think we're all feeling pretty good, right? We all sold the same amount of homes, except they're $100,000 more than they were back then. And if you work on commission, which we all do, that's pretty good, right?
You finally got a pay raise.
You got a little pay raise, you got a little bump, right? So no one really talks about that, but to me, I'm like, that's, it's pretty good. And then in Lexington, right, and I encourage everyone to do this in your market, is that, like, here's what happened in Lexington with homes between $0 and $1 million, is that, you can kind of see the sold numbers here, which I think this year we're going to, still be above 4,000 when the year finishes out. But here's what I want you to focus on. And again, it's that year-to-year change, is that the median price in 2017 was $190. This year, so far, it's $265. It was the average was 230,000. Now it's 304. Guys, these are massive numbers. And then when you look at the days on market, you can follow this trend down to where it is now. It's crazy, all right? It's just crazy what we have lived through and what we have seen here, okay? This is the Freddie Mac Primary Mortgage Market Survey. Look where we are right now. You always hear that, historic low rates. It's true. And this is just my prediction, guys, until we start seeing these things get back above 5, our market's going to continue to be thriving, okay? I really believe that. Now, for context purposes, my dad has been a realtor since the mid-'80s, all right? So that's right around this point when there was 10% interest rates. And what I always love talking to Dad about is what it used to be like back then. And guess what? Realtors were still having successful careers. They were still making good incomes. They were still doing amazing, buying, helping families buy and sell. And even though the interest rates were 10%. And so I think it's just another good reminder that even if these rates start popping back up, like, people are still going to be buying and selling, guys. All right? So perspective. What I want you guys to think about today is just keeping things in perspective and knowing that, of course, right, the headline is what gets people to stop scrolling on their phone and read something. So if Inman News put an article out that just said everything looks pretty decent in the real estate world, no one's clicking on it. But if they say August sales are down 20%, one expert out of 3 million said that the bubble could be bursting, people are going to click on that, okay, all day. So just keep that in perspective when you're looking at these things, okay? So Zillow, we can't talk about the state of the industry without talking about Zillow. And here's what I encourage everyone to do. This website right here, investors.zillowgroup.com, thankfully, Zillow is a publicly traded company, meaning that every quarter they give us exactly what they're doing. So every quarter, they put out a beautiful shareholder letter that I'm like, why doesn't every company put out a letter like it's fantastic? And it tells you everything about Zillow, everything you want to know. How much money are they making? How many homes are they buying? And then they do a webcast with their CEO, Rich Barton, which is basically like an interview from all these financial folks where he's telling them what their plans are and what they're going to do, okay? So highly encourage everybody to go there and check that out. And then Tom Ferry said this, Zillow is going to do Zillow things. And one of those things, as we all know, is they bought Dotloop. And I just want to show you, this is a little example of why they can do things like this, okay? So Realogy, if you guys, and now we're kind of getting behind like inside baseball here. So Realogy, okay, is the parent company for all of these brands, okay? We're talking Better Homes and Gardens, Century 21, Coldwell Banker, Corcoran, Sotheby's, did everybody know Cardis Relocation is owned by Realogy? Just saying. ERA Select, excuse me, that's who we know ERA Select. ERA Real Estate, the company, all owned by Realogy. That's a lot of amazing brands. They do a lot of business. So they are also publicly traded, and their market cap is $2 billion, which is great. $2 billion, that's a lot of freaking money. Until you look at Zillow. And their market cap right now is $23 billion. And keep in mind that their stock is down like 50%. So at some point last year, it was around $50 billion was their market cap. They got a lot of money. They can do a lot of things, okay? Zillow offers, real quick, Realtors are real concerned about Zillow offers, and they're afraid that they're going to cut out all realtors and that everyone's going to sell their home to Zillow. Well, guys, this is how many homes Zillow offer has purchased in the country the last 3 years. And obviously the pandemic slowed everything down, but in 2021, they're picking back up. And so far, they're at about 1,000 homes a month through Q1 and Q2. And this is all, they publish all these stats. So their goal, all right, here's the takeaway. In 2019, Rich Barton said their goal is to buy 5,000 homes a month from Zillow offers. 5,000 times 12 is 60,000 homes. And guess what 60,000 is? That's about 1% of the total market, right? So I think that Zillow's goal is to do 1% of the total market. Now, I know that I had a very good discussion with a good friend of mine yesterday about this, and he still was like, that's way too much, I don't feel good about it, and I get it, but it's still 1% of that 6 million pie, okay? We should feel good about that their goal isn't to do 600,000 homes a month. So, and this is why, right? We've all seen this. Like I think this was the big thing that everybody, the Netflix blockbuster was going to put all realtors out, blah, blah, blah. Well, the only difference here, guys, is Blockbuster Video was about $5 for a movie, and Netflix, even to this day, is $20 a month. So it's a little different than a real estate transaction, which we should all be very happy that this is a high value, low frequency transaction. Guys, anything in our life, right? This is just how people work. Anything in our life that we perceive as high value and we don't do it much, we want the help of an expert, all right? So think about some of these things. Like if you're going through a divorce, are you gonna Google, the iBuyer of divorce attorneys and lawyers? Heck no, you're not going to do that. If you're setting up a will or a trust, are you going to go through, no, you're not. You're going to seek an expert out to help you through this because it's a high value, low frequency transaction. So as long as this stays the case for most people, a real estate professional is going to be involved, all right? This is another one here that iBuyers, power buyers, institutional buyers. Tom Ferry thinks that in 5 years, over half the transactions in the U.S. will have some type of referral attachment to it. I think that's crazy, but this was a podcast that he did with a guy named Mike Del Prete. Everybody should follow this guy, sign up for his newsletter. fantastic info all about iBuyers in there. And this will be linked in the resource page. So what can we do now? And so I'm going to go 10 more minutes, guys, so 12:15. And so what can we do now? And the reason I'm going to show you these next 2 slides is because I told you in 2018, we started an independent company called The Brokerage. A lot of our peers said that we would fail. They said it would not work. No one will join. And a lot of that was directed at me because I was the one who was going over the vision of the company with everybody and just saying like what this thing could be and why I'm so passionate about it. Well, 3 years have passed, right? And the reason I want to talk about this is because maybe you are at a spot where you're wanting to do something big and other people are maybe, they're doubting it a little bit. And if I would have listened to those people 3 years ago, the brokerage never happens, right? But I didn't. I put my head down, I got to work, and this is where we are this year. So the brokerage this year, this is in all of Elbar, okay? Residential and multi-housing, I pulled these stats yesterday. So we've sold $293 million worth of real estate, which is good for second in all of Elbar. And we've done almost 880 sides, 880 transactions. And this is in all of Elbar, okay? And then our primary market in Fayette County, we're currently number 1. We've done $231 million in Fayette County, and we've done 700 sides. We're going to finish number 1 in sides, and we're going neck and neck with Sotheby's for the top volume in Fayette County. I'm super proud of that, okay? I'm super proud of that. I'm proud of our company. I'm proud of everybody there. And what I'm going to go over with you next are kind of the building blocks that got us to right here, okay? And the first thing is mindset. Guys, you could have the perfect plan in place, but if you don't have the right mindset, like if you are not actively engaging in the right things, the perfect plan, the perfect CRM, the perfect everything, it's not going to matter, okay? Anchors and motors. I heard this from Terry Watson like 10 years ago at Elbar, and it's always stuck with me, is that you have to align yourself with the right people, all right? And for me, all right, anchors are the things that are going to hold you back. They're the things that are going to hold you in place. Motors are those people that are going to move you forward. So you have to attach yourself to motors, because if you don't, guess what? Those anchors are just going to drag you down, and guess what? They're anchors themselves, so they have no idea that they don't even know what they're missing. All right? You attach yourself with motors and things change in your life, okay? Less planning and more executing. I talked about this briefly. Again, more execution, less planning. We all know the things we need to do. Stop planning them to death and just start doing the things that you know you need to do, okay? Attention and focus. Again, in 2018, I basically tuned out everything except my family and the business, and I don't think I missed anything. I deleted Facebook, I cut my friends list down to about 100, and I basically check it a few times, and I get on there to see what our agents are doing, and I post things to our agent-only Facebook page, and that's about it, okay? Attention and focus, I decided what I was going to give my attention to and my focus to, and I've never looked back. Minimum viable audience. Seth Godin said this. I think it's super important. Sometimes in real estate, we think we need to have thousands and thousands of people, when in reality, right, if you really look at the people who refer you business, the people that you like doing business with, figure out who those people are and how that you can really make them part of your tribe. And that's what the minimum viable audience is what's the minimum amount of people that you need in your tribe to make you super successful, okay? This is another one by Seth. I love this because it's all about stop chasing shortcuts. For probably 2 years of my life, I was on lab coat agents way too much, and I was searching for the one thing that I think every realtor has searched for, and that, of course, is the perfect CRM. Not just any CRM, the freaking perfect CRM. You know, the one that when you finally find, you realize that it really doesn't matter at all and you never use it anyway. That's the perfect CRM that I'm talking about, okay? There are no shortcuts. Guys, the only thing that works is this. And this sometimes makes us all uncomfortable because it does the thing that, again, Seth Godin talks about, and it puts us on the hook, all right? No one really loves being put on the hook, all right? That's why we all plan everything, okay? But if you get down to it, you do the work, good things can happen, guys. Ignore the industry chatter, and I follow that up with avoid the noise. I talk to our company about this all the time. If you see these big juicy threads going on the L-Bar Facebook page, delete them, get off of them. It's not going to help you in the long run, and in 3 days, no one will remember it anyway. So why are you wasting your time thinking about all this stuff, okay? So I do our business planning summit. I talk about this. This is the main question. What is success to you? I highly encourage you to write this down, to think about it, to have a bourbon, have a glass of wine, or have a big glass of water, and just sit down and think about this. And be serious with yourself. Like, what is success to you? Not to your friends, not to your peers, not to what your parents think you should do or your brother. Like, what is success to you? Because I went through this exercise and it really changed how I viewed success. And I highly encourage everybody to do it because I think it's a big unlock going forward. Some books that I love, this is Marketing by Seth Godin, Atomic Habits. I think everybody should read that book. And then, of course, The Simple Path to Wealth. J.L. Collins did a podcast with Gary Keller. I thought it was fantastic. Read this book recently. It kind of changed a lot of my financial strategies. And again, it makes it really simple, and it just kind of cleared a lot of the hurdles that I've made for myself, right? And so in real estate, who is going to get after you if you don't contribute to a SEP IRA? Like, who's coming after you? Jason, who's coming after you? If you don't contribute to a SEP IRA? Nobody's coming after you. No one cares, okay? Right? We have to care for us, for our families, for our kids, whoever you want to give money. Like, that's when you're the whole beginning with the end in mind. Like, this is something that I am going to really harp on with our group about this, is that we have to think about this stuff because no one else cares. And I know that's like a harsh thing to say, but no one does. So we have to care. And if we can't, invest $20 and 10 hours of time to read this book, then I would say, well, then you may not care, And so we got to flip that, because when you look at some of the things we can do with some of the opportunities financially that we have, damn, and you just talk about compounding interest and how things can happen, whew, holy smokes. So, all right, podcasts, articles, books, links, everything is going to be in this link right here, and I will get that out by the end of the week on Friday. And this is the last thing, guys. How did I do? Oh, right on time. So I truly believe this. It is the Karate Kid effect. If you watch the original Karate Kid with Ralph Macchio, not the new one, but the original one is that, Mr. Miyagi had Daniel-san doing all these things that Daniel-san didn't understand why he was doing them. Why am I painting the fence? Why am I waxing this car? Like, why am I doing all these things, right? Well, you're doing all those things because it's setting the foundation for what comes next. But again, how we talked about stop chasing shortcuts and doing the work, I think a lot of real estate agents, they want to chase the shortcuts. They don't want to do the work. They're watching Frederick, and they're watching Ryan and Josh, and they're watching all these people, and they're like, I just want to do that. And it's like, that, guys, that's a TV show. But they do a ton of business. And but I watched Ryan Serhant at Agent 2021, and he talked about how his whole business was about talking to 5 people a day. That was like his whole business strategy. That was it. Like, there was no other pieces. It was talk to 5 people a day. So I've come down on that, and every agent that comes to the brokerage, this is something that I get, and they all look at me like I'm insane because, again, they see what we've done. But it's like, genuinely communicate with 3 people every day. You know why I like that number? Because at the end of the year, it should be right around 1,000 people. 1,000 people that you have genuinely communicated with a day, right? And then preview 1 home a day. And again, use your judgment on this. If it's a home that requires 4 hours notice and they say they have 3 small children, maybe don't preview that one. But if it's empty, if it's new construction, open house, because again, if you're previewing 350 homes a year and you're talking to 1,000 people a year, you're going to figure it out. You're going to make improvements. You're going to level up, and you're fundamentally going to change your business, because in that 5-year period, 5 years forward from now, you do this every day, it's over, okay? It's fantastic. Guys, whether there was 5 or 500, I really appreciate everyone staying here and everyone participating and laughing when appropriate. I seriously thank you. Thank you so much. That's all I got.